Welcome to yet another video. This is Road 35 to Infinity. My name is KEFTON. These are videos where I pretty much invite you to take a look at my process of practice, my steps towards reaching goals and finding consistency and how I am trying to get there. Hopefully also accomplishing getting there and beyond. So something I've been busy with lately, the last couple of weeks, has been creating a solo performance. I think the seed got planted years ago. There was a moment when I was living in Stockholm where I was asked if I wanted to do a solo performance for a festival called Urban Connections. And when I was asked, I was speechless, I was surprised, very happy also that somebody did ask me, but I was not in a place where I felt that I could be on a stage for 20-30 minutes on my own, and also didn't really know what I wanted to make a solo about. I said no, and we fast forward many years now from that moment, and I've been more and more feeling this wanting to create a solo and also to step into the realm of a theater space, to expand where I can share my dance. So it's not only at practices, at jams, in a club, or at battles, more emphasis on the latter one, on the battles. I wanted to expand and also take my dance and my expression into the realm of theater and also film. So in order to get to the making a solo, I felt like I needed some help in terms of space and time to create. I then decided to apply for different open calls for dance residencies. I was gifted with two. I had one small in Malmö and one bigger one in Amsterdam. And what I've been sharing mostly now is the bigger process. I am now in my third week, or what I'm recapping now will be my third week. Check my calendar, and I had to make some notes to just make sure that I cover everything. I said that in my last video that most of the work happened during my first week. A little bit less so in my second, but I don't think that's necessarily true. It's just the amount of work or the kind of work is different. Getting an idea to become tangible, so to become something that you can grasp, I felt for me was the most work. Writing things down, going from scratch to getting these ideas, finding inspiration, and then translating that idea into movement. And then the second week was refining, just going deeper, making this become clearer. And during my third week, it went from theoretical to practice to really now kind of like a trial phase, I would call it. Now I've been working on this idea, which culminated into 2 chapters. What I've been doing now is just really trying these 2 chapters out, and I've had multiple showings during my third week. I showed it to different people. They would then give me feedback on what they thought, what worked for them, and what didn't work, maybe some questions they had regarding choices that I made. And these were all inputs for me to further really filter out anything that wasn't needed or to make any adjustments. I can just get closer to somewhat of a final version that I have as a solid base for my as a solo, and that I then later can elevate with any other resources I would be able to get my hands on. And what I've also realized, these 2 chapters making a full story or a full performance could actually be taken apart and become two separate performances if I wanted to. And this realization also got me excited, because when I present my solo, it works in two ways. It's a full performance, which by now is between 25 and 30 minutes, which is also like, good job. But that they could also be just previews of two different ideas that potentially could grow and become a full performance on their own. So these are things that I'm taking with me, and it's just to show that what might start as an idea with time really can develop and become so much more. I have the physical material, so the dance in itself, but in my performance I am also using certain props. But then there's something I wanted to play with lights, but that I couldn't do in the studio space. I've been doing it theoretically, meaning that I've been doing it as if they were there, so I had to imagine that they were there, and having whoever was watching to also imagine this idea. And I would only be able to really try this idea I had with the lights on the last week of my residency, so just the same week as my performance. I could really visualize the idea, so I felt I had trust that it would work out. You might not have all the puzzle pieces available to you until the very last moment, and in that very last moment will be when you'll have to make a choice if this idea of yours really works, or if you're gonna have to make any last, perhaps drastic changes to your work. I'm also taking with me that as I'm going to creating something, going to go from an idea into the reality of it, is that I cannot be too fixated on this idea. The more open and flexible I am to the result of this transformation from idea to reality, the closer I can get to the idea. Because if I'm too fixed that it needs to look in a specific way, and then I get to a moment where it turns out that a specific detail cannot be done, I had then the choice to either give up on the idea completely, or say, oh, it's not what I wanted, so it doesn't work. Or to, okay, it's not what I wanted, but how can we still work on it? And by being open and flexible with what is available to you, it might lead into a new version that you hadn't imagined in the first place. The way I've performed it now without these lights and really imagining it is a version that also has worked so far, but it gives a different image. But yeah, there's always a possibility, and this is something that I learned from my close friends also, who have this mentality of that, you know, anything is possible, and that it's better that the things happen than not at all. What I also spent time getting in order and fixing, which were questions in my last video, is costume, lights, music, props. Last week I fixed my costume, and I've also had the pleasure to work with Mackenzie Bergile, who's been working with making music for my performance. So shout out to Mackenzie. Check him out on SoundCloud. This guy's amazing. He is not only amazing with creating music and atmosphere, but he's also such a dope dancer. I'll see if I can find something of him and put a link in the description, because this guy is amazing. And the lights, I had an idea in terms of to use lights as part of my performance, so as a concept, but also in terms of certain colors that I chose. I got inspiration from a book I was reading, so that's also how that can go. So you can find inspiration anywhere, really. And when it comes to the costume, I also wanted to try it out before the performance. So I managed to try it out at a battle to really put it to the test. Do I feel comfortable dancing in this? Look nice, but still bring out my dance in a positive way. So I tested that out and it worked, which I'm happy about. Just a quick recap. I entered my trial phase, so really trying my performance out for an audience, and multiple times getting a lot of feedback, what worked, what didn't, and questions I could take with regarding choices I made for my solo. I realized that my solo, which is divided into 2 chapters, something that I can take with me after this residency is done, that I could dive deeper into making these 2 chapters as one performance even better, or I can dive into these chapters separately and make them become their own solo performances. I've also been working with an incomplete performance because there are certain props / lights that are essential for the idea that I have, but I couldn't get access to it yet. So I've been working without it, and it's only during my 4th and last week that I'm gonna be able to try it out. Trusting the idea, but also being open-minded that if it doesn't work, find solutions. I've also fixed costumes, music, for sound, props, and lights for my performance. So all these things are coming together, and that's basically it. My 3rd week, so it's really coming together now, and I can really feel that it's about time to present. I have a strong enough of foundation to have this solo work, and that is something that I can present, but there's also room for it to grow even more. So it's not the final version, but it's final enough to present and to feel proud of what I've made so far. And something that I've also been working on now is a logo for me and my Leviathan flow. It's coming together, and I'm super excited to be able to share more about it, and also the process of, again, the idea and then into the final version of it. But have a logo is something that I've been wanting to have for a while, and I'm just so happy that I'm getting to have one soon. And that's about it for this week. Next week's video is gonna be about my presentation and how that went. And I would also wanna do like a video where I share more in depth in the making, because up until now I've been very vague about what my, or not even mention what my solo is about, but I would like to kind of like go through again the things that I've been sharing, and with clearer examples of how I worked and how I made my idea become what it is at the moment. And I can't express enough the gratitude I have for you joining me on my journey, and I hope that anything that I share is helpful to you in your process. Speaking of process, I am very interested into hearing about how things are going for you. I really hope that you are enjoying your practice, that you are setting your goals, and that you're finding a way to stay committed to your habits and to your ambition. If you have any questions that you would want me to dive into and share about regarding practice, let me know in the comments below. That was this week's video. Go out there, enjoy your practice, and I will see you in the next one.